Hey, Timo here, and on today's show, we're going to stalk Mark Ruffalo. Just kidding, we're not. We're actually going to curate impact investments as if he were the client, which he's not, but maybe he will be.
Impact, income, return.
I'm Thomas Morgan. My friends call me Timo, founder of Compound Global. Compound Global is an impact investment studio that creates, sources, and manages impact investments that produce a financial return as well as a social and/or environmental return. I'm taking my 20 years and over $1 billion worth of experience in the commercial investment real estate market and applying it to making the world a better place. One of the tenets of our investment philosophy is invest in what you love and what you care about. You need to take care of your money and your legacy, so we get that, and you have to have a financial return. But two, if you're interested in the environment or animals or people or sports or travel or whatever, you name it, then you should maybe invest in that also. And why not? If you can invest in something you love and care about and also get a financial return, why wouldn't you invest? In London, they call it bespoke or custom. It's mainly used for custom suits, which I'm obviously not wearing, or custom shoes. But these are basically bespoke investments or custom investments, or we could also call them curated investments. And they're curated to the individual investor. And again, what their likes are, what their dislikes are, what their risk tolerance are, their available capital, their rate of return, what they're looking to do. And we custom make these investments. And we look at what's available in the marketplace, and if there's something not there that they can invest in, then we actually create the investments that matches what they want to see happen with the world and see happen with their money. And like I said, this is a disclaimer. Mark Ruffalo is not a client, but we do welcome him to be a client if he wanted to be. But we believe that people's social media profiles is who they are, or more importantly, who they aspire to be. So if we go to someone's social media profile and we see what they're liking, what they're commenting about, what they're promoting, then that tells us a lot about the person and what they're into. And so what we're doing here in this video, and this is just an example, again, disclaimer, Mark Ruffalo, who we randomly chose today, and it happens to be the day he won the Emmy, so congratulations, Mark, if you're watching. We go to their profile and we look at everything they're interested in, and then we're going to create some investments or source some investments, impact investments, that match their profile. And don't worry if you are a private client or want to be a private client, we don't have to do anything on YouTube or publicly. We can have a private consultation, talk about everything you're interested in, your wants, your needs, your available capital, your rate of return you desire, and we can have a discussion and put all that together. And if that's something you're into, you can go to compound.global/custom. Again, that's compound.global/custom. And just a warning, this might seem a little stalker-esque, but it's not. This is just an example to kind of show, what people are posting, what they're into, and then how we, create synergy and connect the dots as to what kind of investments match those people's wants and needs. So Mark Ruffalo and the other celebrities, musicians, athletes we're going to do this for, we're not stalking you. This is just an example. It's all public, and we're just using that to kind of put things together. And the end goal is to make the world a better place and make some money in the process. All right, so quickly we're just going to look at Mark's Wikipedia page. Mark is probably most well known for his role as the Hulk, which was one of my childhood heroes. Okay, so we're going to be taking notes on the iPad while we scroll through this, but you'll notice here that Mark was born in Kenosha, which is where the shooting was and a lot of the protests are originating out of. So we're going to add that to the list here because that is obviously social justice issues. We're going to kind of go through here. And this section right here, political activism and other views. So pro-choice, LGBT, anti-fracking, no oil and gas, 9/11 Truth Group. Let's just put truth because I've seen him talk a lot about truth. So anti-war, or a better way to say it is, let's say, peace. And then his role in Dark Waters, which was basically about oil and gas and fracking. Obviously he has kids, so that's probably something he's interested in with his legacy. All right, so that's a quick look at his Wikipedia there. And now we're going to look at his Instagram, Got a petition here about fracking again. That's a second mention of that. We're just gonna highlight that. We're gonna kind of scroll through his Instagram post here and see what they're talking about. We got climate, health, voting, obviously, with his mask here, Black Lives Matter, so political activism, social justice, things like that. Tenderness is our superpower, which is really cool. And then again, mask and health. So we're just going to highlight that. Health again. Native rights, we're going to add that. Dakota, oil and gas. Looks like Mark does a lot of fundraising as well. So fundraising and donations, awareness, activism, nature, and then support our crews, which again, I'm going to put towards fundraising and donations. Activism, politics is something he's interested in as well, and voting. So we're going to highlight that as well here. Let's hop over to Twitter and see what he's got going over there. One thing I like about Twitter is, obviously people have their tweets, things they're interested in, but so again, election here, he's interested in talking about voting. The one thing I like is the likes here on Twitter, and he likes, again, voting, ballots, vote. So that's obviously huge, and that's maybe just the time of year, but definitely important. Activism, again, I saw something about women's rights there. So we're gonna go back over to his tweets to see what he's actually tweeting about, not necessarily just what he likes, but young people, movements, registered to vote. Here's something he retweeted. We must rapidly begin the shift from a thing-oriented society to a person-oriented society. When profit motives and property rights are considered more important than people, the giant triplets of racism, materialism, and militarism are incapable of being conquered. So all the more reason for impact investment. Same thing here, capitalism feeds racism. That's basically what impact investment is trying to do, is be a new form of capitalism that's more inclusive, and it's basically stakeholder focused and focused on everybody, not just the shareholders, not just the investors, but everybody that the investment touches. All right, so he's got so many tweets that I can't even go back here in time. So we're gonna skip that for now. But as you can see, we have a lot of good ideas, and let's come up with some investments. All right, so now I'm gonna look at all the different likes and interests that we saw on Mark's social media profiles. And I'm gonna kind of sit back, and this is more of a creative standpoint. I'm just gonna make a list of the different types of investments where I think we could have some synergy in the different things that he's interested in. Okay, so we're gonna go up here. I'm gonna add Kenosha to the list because that's a place-based investment opportunity. And then there was a lot about activism and awareness. He had health was a big one. Oil and gas was a big one, or no oil and gas, let's put it that way. Kenosha, pro-choice, LGBT. One of the nice things about impact investment is it considers people's legacy. So right here, if we take a look at kids and legacy, nature, which is long-term, women's rights, youth movements, things like that. Impact investments, just by their nature, with them being stakeholder focused rather than investor focused or shareholder focused, is going to take a lot of this stuff into account just inherently. So activism, awareness, peace, again, impact investment takes into account that. Some of this stuff is longer term, peace, nature, climate. All right, and again, this is just a quick synopsis, kind of doing it on the fly here. If we actually sat down with Mark or sat down with you privately, we could actually spend days and weeks kind of honing this in and fine-tuning this. But for the purposes of today, we're just gonna quickly jot down some ideas. First one here, we're gonna do activism and awareness. So to me, investments in this space, rather than just nonprofit or philanthropy, would be media companies, online media tools, obviously, tech companies, tech tools, stuff like that. And again, Mark may already be invested in some of this stuff. I'm not sure, but this is just an example here. So activism and awareness, media companies, tech tools. Health also falls under the tech category. Health also falls under the awareness category. And then here under the oil and gas category, what a tactic is buying old leases and then not produce on those. You actually can tie up the leases and not produce. You have to make sure to read the fine print and make sure there's no obligation to produce oil and gas, but that's basically a way to tie up oil and gas rights so that they actually can't be used. On the flip side here, you have alternative energy, wind, solar, EV, for example. There's a lot of stuff going on with charging stations, and there's some interesting income schemes with the companies with electric vehicles. But wind and solar, there's actually standard investments, infrastructure funds that you can invest in that actually produce annual cash flow and upside later. And those would be more traditional real estate investments. Kenosha, I'd have to look at the opportunity zone map, but you could do opportunity zone investing into real estate and buildings, or you could do VC-based type investing or tech investment, equity investing in opportunity zones. I think Kenosha, this opportunity zone one, would be a pretty good way to do it. As you know, the opportunity zones legislation was part of the Tax Cuts and Jobs Act, where you can actually trade out of the stock market or any appreciated investment and defer your capital gains tax till 2026, and then any upside in the future after a 10-year hold time is tax-free. So for example, if you were to invest in, let's say, a VC fund or an equity fund in Kenosha, because he's from there, and I saw him on one of the talk shows talking about Kenosha and how passionate he was about it and how he would like to fix some of the problems there. He actually could do VC equity investing into media or tech companies through the Opportunity Zone legislation. Then that would create financial returns and also social returns. And let's take it a step further, and he could even do alternative energy investing or some kind of wind or solar investing in a Kenosha Opportunity Zone fund, let's just say a Wisconsin fund, and get a financial return, defer taxes, and create the impact he's looking for. And then the actual businesses that he's investing in could be activism and awareness type businesses that then go back to youth movements, nature, climate, Black Lives Matter, native rights, again, oil and gas, and really goes into this awareness and activism. Deal size on these types of investments could be as little as, $50K. On the equity side, you could do $500K. If there's real estate involved, obviously the numbers get bigger, but let's say $2 million to $10 million. And with his voice and all of his social media followers and whatnot, and this is where it gets really interesting, he could actually lead the way for institutional investors, such as pensions, endowments, things like that. And he could actually 10x these numbers easily, if not, let's say 20x. But let's just 10x them hypothetically with his profile, stature, his voice, his appeal to people. By creating a small impact investment fund that he's behind with these things that he's passionate about, he could then leverage his fame and influence, invest in these things that we're talking about here, actually create impact on the level he wants to personally for his family, maybe with friends and family, whatnot. But this is where it gets super interesting. He could 10x these with institutional investors. That'd be 20 million of impact or 100 million of impact. And some investors would even go much, much bigger. They can't even write checks for less than 100 million. So he got the eye of one of the big insurance companies, endowments, or pensions. All of a sudden you're looking at a small $50K investment or $500K investment or $2 million investment could all of a sudden have 200 million or 500 million of impact in things he cares about and loves, such as all the things we looked at that he's actually passionate about, posts about, likes, loves, whatnot. So hopefully this was a good example of how someone's likes and desires, things they're putting out there into the world, can then be turned into actual investments that make money, but also produce impact, triple bottom lines into the world. If you have interest in this, want to comment, contribute, participate, you can go to compound.global/talk, and you can submit a video question, a video reply, text reply, audio reply, and we'll continue the discussion there on social media and YouTube. I'll even post some of the replies to our YouTube channel and Instagram and whatnot. And again, that's compound.global/talk. And if you want to get your own private consultation or even a public consultation like this, you can go to compound.global/custom. Again, compound.global/custom. Thanks for watching. Hopefully this provided some real value, and I'm excited to see what kind of change we can make out there in the world.